Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I'm Bobby, and if you're accustomed being here, what's up? Today we'll be reading some Reddit stories, some calm Reddit stories. Well, it may not be that calm. I didn't read them through, I just read the titles. But yeah, but this Reddit story reading does not have like a theme like the last one, which was like the Cheetahs edition. It's just this is just Reddit stories that I pulled off of the subreddit Am I the Asshole? That's it. That's where it comes from. So without further ado, without any more yapping, let's get into the stories. Okay, so this is story number one. It's taken from r/slash Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for refusing to let it slide after my wife said I run a hobby business? Now, when you say hobby business, I'm thinking content creator, I'm thinking YouTube, right? Not saying that that's a bad occupation, but sometimes people like to call it that, right? Which could be insulting to some people. All right. I've been starting slash running a trades business in a major city. It's going into its fifth year. We have 12 employees and have won awards and grown every year. Okay, so that's trades, right? Maybe like Forex or something, maybe. I don't know. I am not versed in the world of trade, but I know to some people it's very profitable. Not for me though. The conflict. I called my wife, to ask her about a paperwork problem for taxes. Turned out we needed the completed 2024 something we hadn't yet filed. She said it would give her a panic attack and she'd faint if I said she had to. I found her docs on my desk in the morning, figured I would try to fit them in during the day, couldn't. So as I was figuring out the plan for the evening time wise, two kids, lots to do, I called and asked when she wanted me to do it. I meant that evening. Would she prefer I work late and come back at a certain time, take over for the rest, or come home, do bath and dinner, and then do it, or none of the above? She got very angry and said I was asking her to figure out my life for me. I tried to clarify that I wasn't, and what I meant is that I hadn't had a chance to do it as I only had the files in the morning, and she yelled at me and told me I always had some excuse because of my hobby business. Okay, so just from reading that, I get in the impression that this isn't, it feels like if she's been holding on to this for some time, as in her just saying it's a hobby business is not just like a feeling that she had in a moment. It's like a built up feeling that she had about him, or built up frustration that she had towards him, or resentment maybe. Because it doesn't really feel like if, okay, I'm angry, so I'm going to express my anger here and now. It doesn't feel like that to me. There's something else behind it. Maybe that she hasn't told him, or maybe that he hasn't, like, thought of, right? He said, it continues, I didn't yell back. I just said, that was way over the line, totally unnecessary and inappropriate. I said that I put everything into building a business to help and support our family. I couldn't believe how she could dismiss me and everything. That it felt like she was calling me a loser and a failure. She angrily responded that she just called it a hobby and I was entitled to think what I want, but I was a liar for saying that she was implying a lot more than just one word. She said she was just expressing frustration, and I said, "Well, no, you insulted me, and you knew how much it would hurt." That was the point. She didn't argue, just said she was entitled to express her frustration, and it wasn't her job to manage my feelings about what she said. Now, this is my two cents about that, right? You are allowed to have emotions, you're allowed to feel angry, you're allowed to feel frustrated, right? Because we're all human and people aren't perfect. So if you're with somebody, or if you're with a man or if you're with a woman, at some point, it will get you mad. right? But because this person is your partner, it's kind of important that you approach your situation with love rather than like being so hard on them. The point that your anger and your frustration hits them. You know what I mean? So I do get the feeling frustrated, right? Maybe if there's something else behind it. But I also don't agree with her saying that she's entitled to like show her frustration. That because you hurt him, you hurt his feelings. That's not right. That's not right. You call the man livelihood a hobby. How are you supposed to feel about that? Understand? Okay, so context about this. So he gives context. So context about this. My business is in its fifth year. I won't say it's been easy. It's been the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I, 38 male, had a desk job and was quite successful in one sector, but the low pay, heavy hours, and dependency on grants and funding was heavy. I couldn't imagine doing it another 40 years, so I went looking for new careers. I applied to things I was overqualified for. I applied to things I was qualified for. I applied to things that you'd think anyone could get. Crickets. It's hard to change careers. Then I found the skilled trades, sorry. Then I found the skilled trades. I had to go back to school and get fit in one fell swoop. Wow. But I did it and toughed it out in some high production companies. Eventually a friend of mine at one and I decided to start our own. We saw many problems in our industry for employees, for clients, for owners, and opportunity in the market. It's been a wild ride. Everything was progress. Well, until a fire destroyed our service trucks in year three. Year four, my wife had a second child and experienced severe BP, which resulted in numerous hospitalizations and, well, rage directed to me that was highly destabilizing. The worst happened almost a year to the day of the fires, which we hadn't yet climbed out of. Okay, so the BPD, the PPD, sorry, not BPD, PPD, be a very, like, it could be a very interesting reason as to why she has that frustration or resentment towards him. Because from what I read about PD, there's no like expiration date for that. That kind of it kind of lasts if you don't treat it. So if she didn't treat it, or if she didn't like go to therapy and feelings like kind of passed, it could be leaking over into other things. Like every time she gets stressed, that's the response that she has to him. You know? Okay. It is March 2025, very recent, but it feels like March or okay, that's a typo. March or February 2024 to me. Bad year just never ended as the buildup of critical business stuff that needs to address is haunting. Took us 6 months to replace the trucks after the fire, but keep running somehow. And we still were dealing with early years growth pains. I thought the next year would be tough but stable. It was not. It was worse. The worst year of my life, and I've had some rough ones before all this. My wife has worked for us and helped, not because it was desperately needed, but because she couldn't get another job. It allowed her to take a year off for both our kids and stay home. I pay 75% of expenses, and the situation places extreme stress on me as if I falter or revenue is low, there's nothing else coming in. On the other hand, she works from home and has flexible hours, and both kids are in daycare full time. When I am home late or need to work more for the money or business to survive, first five, she complains I'm not home. When I'm home, she complains about money thing. I'm a pretty stoic person in terms of being screamed at, but this was just beyond. I wish many things were different. To call my work a hobby when it's the only support for our family and important to me. She says no problem. I feel pointedly okay, so as you should though, you should feel degraded because what she said was degrading. Because all of this context here is it kind of gives me a little more to go on. I wouldn't say that he's the asshole because let's look at the factors, right? Let's look at the factors that he is providing employment not only for himself but for her, and he's also providing employment for how much employees they said they had 8 to 12 employees, right? He is trying his best to keep the company afloat. They had a very bad year, and still the company is trying his best. Now I understand her feeling like if he have to work extra hours and he isn't home, but she also works for the company, so she should know what's going on. Understand what I mean? And then when he's home, feels like she can't really enjoy it because she's complaining about money things as well. So I'm not sure exactly because I wanted to say is it PPD, right? I wanted to say it's because she has some kind of aggression and resentment towards her husband, but you know, it doesn't seem like if he's an asshole to me. If it is that during the PPD, it was not treated and he was not there for her, right? Then I could see why she harbors this kind of resentment, you know? But anyway, let's get to the comments. What does it say? A hobby that pays 75% of the expenses and employs her. She is way out of line. I agree. I agree. Right? Because it's 75% of the expenses. That's not just a hobby, my guy. That is a job, like a job. You know? Somebody says, not the asshole. You can tell her she's entitled to feel frustrated. She is not entitled to place her frustration on you. That's exactly what I was saying. The feelings that she have are valid, but she shouldn't go out there and just hurt him. That's not the move. That's not the move. That's just not the move. Another comment, not the asshole. Tell her that she is in fact responsible for what she says if she says it to specifically hurt you. And no, she does not in fact have a right to express her frustration. Doesn't have that right at all, LMAO. When you're frustrated, you deal with it like an adult. You don't snap at and belittle your husband. I partially disagree with that. You do have the right to have that frustration. You do have the right to express that frustration. But like I said before, do it with love, right? Tell your husband, this makes me feel X, Y, and Z instead of attacking him, calling his whole livelihood a hobby. That was not it. I don't agree with that at all, right? Anyway, what do you guys think? I think that he's not the asshole. I don't see how it could be. That's just my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Story number 2. This comes from r slash am I the asshole again. Am I the asshole for kicking my fiance's friends out of my house? Of the title, I must say no, but let me keep reading. Context, me, 27 male, and my fiance, 27 female, just purchased our first home. It's nothing fancy, but it's not run down by any means. The neighborhood has a few houses that could use some yard work, but there isn't any rundown cars or trash all over the place. It's just basic maintenance that needs to be done. Neighbors close to me are all elderly with no family nearby, and they are on disability or social security, so they can only do so much for the upkeep on their homes. So last night comes and my fiance tells me that her friends are going to swing by and bring some food they have cooked over and see the house. Her friends are lifelong family friends and we have always gotten along great. And their little brother was tagging along who is in high school, 17 male. A few hours later, two of her girlfriends and their little brother show up and ask to come inside to see the house. I take the food and invite them inside. As we walk in, the little brother says, "Wow, I didn't realize you lived in the ghetto." Oh, what? Pause. All right. Oh, that's why the context came from the area that they were living in. Okay. I'm completely taken aback by this comment. I've grown up in trailer parks and very bad parts of town my whole life, and it wasn't uncommon to wake up to gunshots or hear about break ins constantly. I've worked hard to get my own home in a decent neighborhood, and this is far from the ghetto. I looked at him and said, "You know, usually when someone invites you into their home, you say, 'I like your house.' So that's a crazy statement." The two girls don't say anything to their little brother about his inappropriate comments. And at that point, I'm so frustrated and didn't want to cause a scene. So I said, "Thanks for coming by and bringing some food. I appreciate it. I have some things to do around the house, so I better get to it." This morning comes around and my fiance tells me that they are upset. I asked them to leave so quickly after they brought us food and wanted to know why I was acting strange. I told my fiance the story of what happened and she believes I'm in the right and isn't upset, but now we have to deal with them thinking I'm an asshole and they're set to be bridesmaids in our wedding. Am I the asshole? I'ma say I would say no, right? Because a little bit of me is saying how you could show up to my house and just start bad talking my neighborhood. Especially in this case where it is that the guy says, I lived in like very impoverished areas, areas where that will like in Trinidad we call them hot areas. You probably live in a hot area with like crime and whatnot. And this is far from it. Just a bunch of old people, literally. That's what he said. It's a neighborhood with unkept yards and old people. And this little boy with your whole chest, right, come out and say it ghetto. Now I would say it's because he underage or he's a minor. He said something like that. He's 17. He's old enough. I'm just saying he's 17, right? But that's just my take on it. What do the comments say? Somebody says, "Not the asshole. The kid was rude. You called him out on it, and his older sisters did nothing to reinforce the lesson. Better he learns now than further down the line." Side note, that is awesome. Your fiance has your back on this. That bodes well for y'all's future marriage. Congrats, by the way. Yes, I really did like that she had his back though. Like, come on. I think that the little kid was really rude, out of timing, as they would say. Out of timing. Not the asshole, what a rude little jerk he is. They had the opportunity to reprimand him and they didn't. He owes you an apology. That's true. That's true, right? These sisters and them had the opportunity to like say something about it, but they didn't. They didn't even say, well, that's not a nice thing to say. How could you say something like that? They didn't even say that. I can't even. This was posted 4 days ago, so we have a couple comments here. I'm not gonna read all, but in my opinion, definitely not the asshole. That little kid is he's so out of time and real bad, like bad, bad, bad. And his sisters didn't do anything to help the situation at all. On to the next story. This one is taken from r/ Am I the Asshole from 4 days ago. Am I the asshole for being put off by my girlfriend duping my house key without my knowledge? I'ma say a hardy. I'ma say a hard no. You're not an asshole for that, my guy. Why is she copying your house keys and she ain't saying nothing? That is weird. That's weird that is really weird. That's weird. That's weird. I think she's been watching a little too much of you, that Netflix series with Penn Badgley. She's been watching too much you. That's crazy. But anyway, let's get into it. Me, 29 male, and my girlfriend, 31 female, have been together for a little over a year. So a little under a year, sorry, 10 months. So she's older than you and she acting like that. But things are great and she is really cool and fun to be with, and we share similar hobbies. There hasn't been much to worry about and we haven't really had any real argument. In some context, she usually comes over to my place in the mornings because I work nights right now. Anyways, normally she can just use the keypad to unlock the door. She has the temp code, but right now it's broken. A couple weeks ago, she asked if she could have my house key for the day because one of her clients' house is nearby and just wanted to finish up some computer work after at my place instead of doing it in her car. I'd be sleeping. Okay, I'd be sleeping from work, yes, because he works in the night. Okay, fine. A day goes by and she hands me back my keys. No worries. Now, let's jump to a couple of days ago. I see her pull up on the ring camera and she's got a key and just lets herself in. I didn't say anything at first because I was thinking, oh, maybe I gave her the spare, just forgot. Kept bothering me thinking about it, so eventually I just write out asks if she has one of my keys. She said yes. I asked if it was a spare one and she went quiet for a second and said no, she got one made to make things easier. Now, I don't know because 10 months is a really short time to be moving. One, to be moving that quickly, and two, to be moving so mad. To be moving so mad. If I had to be trying to be real here, you didn't even know this person for like a whole year. Why are you trying to get a copy of the keys to his house? I don't agree with that at all. I would feel personally, I would feel real uncomfortable about that. I would feel real uncomfortable. I immediately felt put off and said, dude, that's crazy, and explained to her why I found it weird and sneaky. It is sneaky. She said sorry several times, but ended each apology with a but type response. I would have asked you to get one made, but it probably would have taken a while to get done. That sort of thing. Am I being too harsh saying that this is weird? Please share your thoughts. Okay, so yeah, there is an edit, but before I read the edit, I just want to give my final thoughts on this before reading the edit or going into the comments. I think that it's too soon for her to be doing that. It's very easy for him to feel freaked out by it or to just feel generally weird about it because it is weird. The house is your personal space and you just making a copy of the key without any kind of permission, as he says. I don't like that. It makes me feel, it doesn't make me feel good. Does sit right in my spirit. Understand? So let's see what the edit is. Edit. Thank you so much, everyone, for chiming in. I have some issues with confrontation, so seeing that mostly everyone agreed with how I felt was the fuel I needed to initiate a serious conversation with her. She realized how bizarre of a thing it was and had no excuses. I made it clear what my boundaries were and how that type of behavior won't fly with me. As you should, King, as you should. I asked for the key back and she handed it over, no issues. Much like what someone who posted in the comments said. I told her it was less about the key and more about trust. This has been our first real hurdle, and I told her that it's going to take me, sorry, some time to trust her again. I still feel uncomfortable thinking about how she did it and just processing where to go from here. And I just hope we can build the trust back. Thank you again. All right. So from that result, because that counts as an update, right? So from that update, I still think that her copying the key is a huge red flag. And I still think that he should be cautious of her because that could get very dangerous very quickly, you know? I just saying, it just could. Because I can't imagine, like, okay, my boyfriend and I, we have been together like 8 years, right? But I can't imagine in the early stages of our relationship if he did that to me. I would be so scared. Honestly, I would be scared. I don't like that at all. I would just be scared. I try to put it in my point of view. I would be terrified. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to the comments. Says, not the asshole. This is a clear violation of your boundaries. Yes. And she wasn't even going to tell you if you hadn't caught her red handed. Change your damn locks and have a thorough look back at her actions and values. You clearly can't fully trust her. Yes, I think that he really should change her locks. Yeah. I really think so because I get the impression that she would not have even said anything if he didn't see anything. If he didn't find out, this girl would not have said a damn thing. And that in itself is a red flag. That's a red flag right there to me. You know that them videos, the guy with the red flags and the green
What?
flags? Yeah. He should be like sprinting across the screen with a red flag. That is definitely a red flag. And I don't usually say that about people because I think that people is overdo it with this red flag, green flag thing. But that is a red flag. Oh, one more comment. As bad as it is, undermining her own apologies with excuses seems like an even bigger red flag to me. Yes, that's true. That's true. Didn't think about that. Getting caught red handed and then trying to avoid responsibility for it. That kind of behavioral pattern probably will leak into other aspects of your relationship. That's true because think about if she messes up in the future. Because we all human happens, right? We make mistakes and sometimes we just do things and we end up hurting our partner. We don't mean to, right? Happens sometimes. Could be just the way we say things, but you just have to approach it with love, right? That's the important thing. Approach it with love. And if that happens to her, what's going to be the excuse the next time when she says, I'm sorry, but how is that going to work out? And really, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a huge red flag. I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't like to call people crazy, but that's crazy. Anyway, on to the next story. This is taken from r slash am I the asshole from 9 days ago. And it says, am I the asshole for walking out of a family dinner after my parents insulted my Thai wife? As in Thai, like she's from Thailand. Thailand? I get my countries right. Yes, Thailand. Wow, my brain just went blank for a second there. Jeez. My wife, Pa, hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong, 32 female, is from Thailand. I'm correct. We met while she was studying in the US, fell in love, and got married 5 years ago. She is an amazing woman, kind, hardworking, and incredibly smart. Unfortunately, my parents have never fully accepted her. Is this racially motivated? Because I don't like it. I don't like it. From the beginning, they made offhand comments about her being a gold digger and only marrying me for a green card, no matter how many times I told them otherwise. They held onto this ignorant assumption. Doesn't matter that Fa has a successful career, makes her own money, she makes more than me, by the way, and has never asked me for a dime. Because in their eyes, she's one of those foreign women who trap American men. That is racism right there. It's a isn't it microtransaction. Is this Genshin? No. It's a what they call it microaggression. It's a microaggression, right? That's what that is. That's sad. Last weekend we had dinner at my parents' house. At first things were civil, but then my dad smirked and said, so far. Now that you've been married for 5 years, do you finally get to keep your green card? My mom laughed and added, guess you don't have to be on your best behavior anymore, huh? Oh my god. That's infuriating. I don't blame the husband for being upset about this. Pa went pale. I was furious. I told them to cut it out, but my dad doubled down and said that they were just joking. It's not a joke if, like, she's not laughing. If she was laughing and they were making joke together, fine, but it's not a joke if it is that you're directing it towards her and she is not laughing. What? But that we can't blame them for wondering how much of this marriage was for love and how much was for the visa. My mom nodded and said they just want to make sure I wasn't taken advantage of. That's a stupid excuse. I think they're racist. That was it. I stood up, told them we weren't staying for dinner, and walked out with Fa. In the car, she was quiet, and then finally asked me if they really think that way of her, which just broke my heart. That's so sad. Now my parents are saying I embarrassed them in front of other family and overreacted. Okay, so there were more people in the room. What? They said that in front of other people? I thought it was like a intimate kind of family dinner. There were more people at the table. No, that's worse. That's worse. They shouldn't be talking about embarrassed. They embarrassed the girl. Saw her husband stand up for her. What? Ugh. Now my parents are saying I embarrassed them in front of the other family and overreacted. My brother says I should have just kept the peace and talked to them later. No. They're refusing to apologize, claiming it was just a joke. Again, was she laughing? It's not a joke. I don't regret standing up for my wife, but now I'm wondering if maybe I should have just waited until everyone else is gone to call them out on it. ETA, guess that's like for extra information. I'm 33 years old. Didn't think to add it, but wanted to clarify as some may think there is some kind of huge age gap between us. No, because he said the woman is 32, so they're just a year apart. Um, Before I get into the comments, I don't like his parents and I don't like his brother either because his brother saying keep the peace. So his brother knows how their parents could be. He grew up with it too. He's supposed to know, right? So why is it that his wife is being insulted and he has to just keep the peace? I don't agree with that at all. That brother, like, no, he's an enabler. That's what he is, an enabler. Enabler of bad behavior. Anyway, let's get to the comments. Okay, so this is a deleted comment. I can totally imagine my narcissistic family having the same reaction, belittling my partner for no reason other than their own ignorant biases. It must have been so painful for your wife to hear those comments. Standing up for her was the right thing to do. You shouldn't have to endure that kind of disrespect. That is true. And I truly believe that if more people had your back like you did for her, the world would be a better place. I agree. Do you think they'll ever come around, or is this a pattern with your family? Did the OP reply? The OP replied. He said, to be honest, if they haven't come around after 5 years of marriage, then I think they will never accept it. I could somewhat understand it when we were still in the dating phase that they were worried about me. But all these years later, it's just straight up racism at this point. That's what I said. That's what I said. What I said. If it's not the gold digger and green card jokes, quote unquote jokes, then it's something else like all ties eat bugs or some other ignorant stereotype. Yes, that's why I'm saying, boy, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. It was from just the title, it was given racially motivated. Right there. Right there. Next comment, not the asshole. Can't quote unquote, keep the peace if there was no peace to begin with? Yes, if the parents say they don't want peace, they want problems, why you have to like uphold peace? You can't want problems too? You can't want a fight too? Like to stand up for your woman? This brother, uh-huh. They said they shot first and have been shooting for years. That's what I'm saying. They're just mad you aren't willing to let them use your wife for target practice anymore. I love the way that this person wrote this. Though it really shouldn't have taken 5 years for you to put your foot down about it, you are an asshole for that, but not for the actual question being asked. Telling them otherwise wasn't strong enough, and you know that. But anyway, better late than never. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think that maybe this person has a point here. It shouldn't take 5 years for him to stand up for her. It should have been something that would have happened before, you know? As he said, if like they had a problem with it or if they were concerned about him during like the dating phase, the whole um the whole gold digger and all of that, I can understand. But it took 5 years for him to say something, and I can understand why his commenter went that direction. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If it is that, but it also could be an issue where he's not a confrontational person and he has never actually said anything to his parents, because there are a lot of people just can't stand up to their parents because you have very narcissistic parents that anytime you say something always flip it around on you, right? They gaslight you into thinking that you are in the wrong for saying something. We don't know if he grew up with that all his life, right? As parents, let's face it, parents could be dicks too. There are some people that are just not meant to be parents and they don't know how to treat kids. And and there are some people who say, grow up and get over it, because you're an adult now. Things that happen in your childhood, sometimes depending on how severe they are, they affect you for the rest of your life. So if you are you grew up in a household where you were being belittled all of the time, anytime you say something, you are in the wrong, it will turn you into a people pleaser. It will turn you into like an unconfrontational person. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just me. That's just me. That's how I feel about it anyway. So yeah. And whew, that story was interesting though, but I'm really happy he stood up for her. Even if it was quite late, I still appreciate that he was willing to stand up for her. That is a lot more than a lot of other people in that situation, I think. You know? So that's a good thing. Okay, last story. This one is taken from r slash am I the asshole. It was posted approximately 10 to 11 days ago. And it reads, am I the asshole for sending my ex's wife a binder documenting his abuse after I found out she was pregnant? Trigger warning, abuse. So if it is that this is too triggering for you, you can skip this story and just go to the end of the video. It's fine. That's kind of why I put this at the end, because there was a trigger. This is a throwaway because I am not anonymous on my main. I have an ex who I was in an abusive relationship with that ended with quite a bang. He was arrested for harassment and threats with a dangerous weapon, put on probation for 5 years, and can never own a firearm again. The abuse started mentally, then financially, then physically. Wow, that sounds like it sucks. During my years with him, I did think to save a good amount of evidence of the abuse and documented a lot in personal journals. In the years since, I've gone to a lot of therapy, and I mean a lot, and ended up compiling that documentation into a binder. I basically scrapbooked my way through processing trauma, and that binder has been sitting in a storage unit since I moved in with my now husband. Well, I knew that my ex ended up marrying a girl I knew from high school who was sweet and smart and very liberal. This guy was a deadbeat, misspelled a tattoo he did on himself, and wished he was at the Capitol on the 6th. I swear my taste in men isn't total trash. My husband is amazing. Okay, so this guy sounds like a nightmare, and I could see maybe how he would end up being like some kind of abuser. But the pair never made sense to me, and I just prayed that he was capable of change and didn't do what he did to me to her. When I found out she was pregnant with his kid, I couldn't stop worrying about her. I found out, as expected, the story she got was that I was crazy and a cheater and I made things up. And she likely didn't even know about his arrest and conviction. I don't know what their relationship was like behind closed doors, but I knew that I'd have an endless amount of what ifs if he had a child with her and was anything like he was with me. Because nobody deserves the treatment I got, and no child should ever have to see that or think it's okay. So I made a copy of every single page that I put in the binder and packed them up with a handwritten note offering to talk about anything if she'd like. I gave them a mutual friend to deliver so he couldn't intercept. About a week later, she texted me. We met for coffee and she brought the papers, pulling pages out one by one and asking for context and comparing the story he told to mine. After a bit, she just sat silently and told me how sorry she was for what I went through. I was a little surprised she believed it, no question. And she told me she didn't believe any of it until the official court records and my victim impact statement. Then it was like it all clicked how real it was. Yes, I could understand that. I offered her a room or any help she needed to leave, but she said she was going to head home and pack a bag for her parents. It's been a few days since and she's staying with them until she decides her next move, but hasn't told him the real reason behind this all yet. At first, I had no doubt or regret about what I did, but I've had some people tell me that I had no business blowing up her life, and I have no idea what it's like now. But I was doing what I think I would want someone to do for me. I'm not sure. Am I the asshole? Okay, so in my opinion, yes, to a certain extent, that new relationship doesn't really have anything to do with you. But I think that if there's a way to warn somebody of somebody's bad behavior, especially if it's serious like this, like how he's abusive and whatnot, I think take the opportunity and do it, especially as a child is involved, right? Because this guy, right, in my opinion, yes, people are capable of change, but in a lot of cases with like abusers and like cheaters, unless they go to like therapy and try and fix their issues that cause them to be that way, they're probably not gonna. If they don't see a problem with their actions, how they treat other people, how they think, and the things that they have done, they aren't going to change. Like, honestly, they won't. They won't change. There won't be any kind of evolution in their character at all, right? So I get where they're coming from with the binder because it's like a warning. And in this day and age, people just try to, what they say, be a sister's keeper or try to be like somebody, like be like their big sister or whatever and try and like look out for them now. So I kind of get where that would come. So yeah, kind of. But I could also see people saying that it's not her business, but I think it's her business because she went through it already. She knows what he's capable of. She knows the type of person that he is. So yeah. Okay. So it says edits to answer some common questions. So I believe this is an edit slash update. So yeah. Updates hate to see me coming, you know. They hate to see me coming. Point one, I found out about the marriage and the pregnancy through screenshots sent to me. It's small town gossip, not me keeping tabs. Right. Okay. I waited until after she was pregnant because I had thought about doing it when I found out they were married, but decided to stay out of it. When I found out she was pregnant, I knew I couldn't sleep at night if I didn't tell her. Pushed me over the edge because he had caused a miscarriage for me, and that's a pain I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. Yes, my husband knows about the past abuse and that I did this and fully supported me, even offered to give it to her himself. That's a real one right there. That's a real one right there. I currently have a restraining order on him, an incredibly protective guard dog, a security system, and a concealed carry license that I actively use. People that found out were not from me telling. At first, I only told my mom, who I went to for advice. My husband, obviously, and later I told two friends who knew every detail So they knew about the abuse and I guess her whole story. Most responses were from people I only kinda know and don't know at all because they found out somehow through her. That's all I know. Right? And that's the end of the edit slash update. Right? Well, I know my stance on this. I think that this wasn't a bad thing and she wasn't out of place. It's kind of like a couple years ago, the streamer, right? She was with a guy who cheated on her with multiple women and gave her an STD. She found the woman, told them what happened, and they matched the timelines and they kind of worked together to understand like how much this guy was playing them or how much it was affected. So I really don't see this being like. But let's look at the comments. Let's see what Reddit has to say. Comment number one, I think that she at least had a red flag moment or two for her to suggest you to meet up. Your evidence was likely what she needed to see to make it real. Yes. Hopefully, you all survive and thrive without this guy. Yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Because I think that if there were no red flags, she would not even consider anything that she was saying. She would just leave it as, are you crazy? I don't want nothing to do with that. You know? Yeah. But she actually saw something there. Comment number one. It says, you're a good person indeed, and you did a noble thing. Sleep well, not the asshole. I agree. Right? I agree. Oh, one more comment. My ex went on to kill his next wife, so yes, you did the right thing. This is behavior that almost never changes. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Well, if this story was hard for you to listen to because of your history, I apologize, and I still hope that you have like a good day or night or whenever you're watching this, because this will be posted a bit later than usual due to hold up in editing and whatnot, right? I'll try to get it out as soon as possible. But I still appreciate you for coming and watching this video. It was quite a long one, and I haven't done a Reddit stories in quite some time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Most likely it'll be part two to It Takes Two. Because that part two was interesting. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.